Hey everybody, it's me, Patty, and I'm here this evening after work. I have Noah filming me tonight. Say hey, Noah.
Hey.
He's going to do a great job. But I thought we would talk about hydrangeas. Now, I have a few different kind of hydrangeas in my yard, but I wanted to show you the original hydrangea. This is it's called a Macrophylla hydrangea. It's the old-timey kind of hydrangeas that have, in most cases, if they're doing really well for you, they'll have the big, either blue or pink blooms, or sometimes they could be purple, and they are the color of them depends on the pH of your soil, and they bloom on old wood. Now, this Macrophylla hydrangea, for example, I've had it in this spot for about 4 years, and it's never bloomed, not the first time. And here in Mississippi, where it's hot, this is what it does in the evenings. It's all wilty. This does get some afternoon sun, and it might do a little bit better if it were in more shade, but these Macrophylla hydrangeas still have to have sunlight in order to bloom. And I've never been able to find the right balance between proper sunlight and too much heat for them to bloom properly. This year I got kind of excited because I did see one bloom on it. Look, we're here, Noah. Well, maybe two. You see this bloom right here? It's the only bloom I've ever had on it. It is pretty. And then there's the second bloom. So in 4 years, that's all it's done for me. And I do have to spray this with the deer repellent because deer like to eat this one too. Another thing about this hydrangea is that the blooms form on old wood. It blooms on old wood, which means that the new growth that I have, like right here, come in a little closer. Can you see that, Noah? This is the new growth that happened this year. So the blooms will form on this next year. And maybe that's why it's just hard. It's hard for me to get blooms on this kind of Macrophylla hydrangeas. They're beautiful, and they bloom earlier in the year, earlier spring here in Mississippi than the other hydrangeas do that I'm fixing to show you. This is the other kind of hydrangea that I wanted to tell y'all about, that I wanted to talk about. This is a little lime hydrangea. Y'all probably heard of limelight hydrangeas. Well, this is a type of that. This one's not supposed to get as big as the limelight hydrangeas. These are called Panicle hydrangeas. If you'll notice, the blooms are sort of like a football shape. And look at this one, Noah. You see all of the those are actually little individual flowers in there. And all of them together make one big panicle of a bloom. But these take more sun. In fact, in order for them to bloom well, they have to have a pretty good bit of sun. It takes them a little bit longer to start blooming, but they'll bloom all the way through the summer. And when they first start blooming, you see they're kind of this lime yellow color, which I think is pretty. And then as they, completely open up, they'll be more of a white color like this. The whole thing will be like this, which is pretty. And then as these blooms get a little bit older, in northern climates, in places where it gets cooler at night, like here in Mississippi, we don't get a reprieve from the heat and humidity. At nighttime, it's just as hot and humid as it is during the day most of the time. But in cooler climates, when it cools off, this bloom will turn sort of a pinky blush color, like an antique pink looking color, which I think is really pretty, and that's kind of an indication that fall is on the way. But here, that doesn't happen. They'll go from this to brown, which is, you know, it's cute too. But I heard a trick, and I think I'm going to try it this year. These kind of hydrangeas bloom on new growth. So, if I were to, okay, say this hydrangea has bloomed out, and I think it's pretty, and I want to cut it for an arrangement in my house, then I could cut it, come here, Noah. I could cut it like right here above these two leaves. I could cut it, ooh, I'm sorry. I could cut it like right there above those two leaves and take this and put it in the house. And then at that cut, new growth will appear. A new stem will start forming, and a new hydrangea can start forming. So if you do that, I'm going to try it this year and see if it works with some of these blooms. If I do that early enough in the season, then maybe a few of these hydrangeas will be able to, blooms will be able to, will be able to form a new bloom, and it'll be further into the year when it's not so hot, and maybe those blooms will kind of turn the pink color. It's an experiment. Did that make sense, Noah?
Yeah, it made sense.
Okay. Thanks for following me. And so I'm going to do that. I think that that'd be neat. Also, I wanted to let you know that after the bloom has, you know, come to fruition and it's all bloomed out and it gets papery here on the shrub, you can cut it, or begins to get a little more papery than what this is. You can cut it and it'll dry like that. And they'll last for a long time. They could last for years in that kind of papery bloomed state. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Over here, this is a new flower bed, and we just put this flower bed in last year, so it's been here for 1 year. And I put these, I have 3 Panicle hydrangeas in this bed. I thought I was getting 3 Limelight primes. It goes Limelight hydrangeas, they get to be like 10 feet and bigger. And then I think it's the Limelight Prime is the step down from that. Oh my gosh, I just saw a deer. I hope it's not coming for my hydrangeas. Fixing to have to get him. Anyway, where was I? Okay, it's Limelight and then Limelight Prime, which is a step below. It doesn't get quite as big. And then Little Lime is less big than any of them, supposed to be. But the little limes that I have over there, they're probably 8 feet tall. So if any of your hydrangeas get enough sun and like the conditions that they're in, they may get bigger than the room that you have allowed for them. So just take that into consideration. Like when I got these home and began to plant them, I realized these are Limelight hydrangeas. They're the big ones. I thought I got all primes, but no. This one and that one on that end, they're the big daddies. And the one in the middle is like the mama one. So I don't know how that's going to end up. I may have to move them later on, but we're just going to go with it and see how they turn out. It may be that I could, in the late winter, early spring, cut them back. Maybe they wouldn't grow as much. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But for right now, they're right here and they're coming along beautifully. Last year, I only had like a couple of blooms on them because they were so newly planted, and it took them a little bit to get adjusted, and it was pretty hot last year too. And so, you know, the roots were kind of working overtime just to keep the shrub alive. But this year, I mean, just blooms everywhere. So I'm really excited about that. Okay, this is the last variety of the Panicle hydrangeas that I have in my yard. And this one is called Little Lime Punch. And I've had this one for about 4 years. You can tell that I started working on these flower beds about 4 years ago. Well, I ordered these. These were brand new. I had heard about them from a gardener that I follow on YouTube, and they were saying these Little Lime Punches, the blooms come out like this, but then they'll turn to a deep red punch color. That's why they're called punches, because they're supposed to be the color of red punch by the end of the season. And so I was so excited, I bought like 3 of them. I had to order them online. And when I got them, they were in little cups like this big. They were tiny. And of course I put them in a spot where they didn't get enough sun, and they hardly grew at all. And so the next year I moved 2 of them. And I think later on in the year I might have moved them again. But anyway, last year this one made it to this spot right here. And it's doing really well. And this is the first bloom it's ever had. Of course, you see it's not the red punch. I started to say flavor. It's not the red punch color. But maybe it'll give us some other, some kind of a color show. We'll just keep an eye on it and see how it goes. And it has not gotten as big as the other Panicle hydrangeas that I have. So maybe this would be an option if you don't have as much space. But I'll keep you updated on it too. This hydrangea is a Little Lime hydrangea. I got this one at the exact same time as I got those 3 hydrangeas over there that are so big and so plentiful with blooms. Now this one is planted under this huge oak tree, and we made this little bed around the tree, and I put this hydrangea in it. And I was thinking that it would get more sun than what it actually gets. The sun comes up over there and it sets over there behind the camera. So in the afternoons, it does get like some light right through here. And last year, I think I had 1 bloom on it. But look this year. Look at all the blooms that it has on it so far. It's not as big as the ones over there. But one reason that I think that it has more blooms this year is because back in the spring we had a storm come through and it knocked some trees and stuff down over there. So we get more afternoon sun, and therefore the shrub has more blooms. So it needs a good bit of sun in order to produce plentiful blooms. I thought we'd finish the video right here. These are hydrangea blooms that are at least a year old. Maybe some of them are 2 years old, but these are off of my Little Lime hydrangea shrub from last year and maybe the year before. I think these I got from my friend Susan. She had some really pretty blooms at her house that had dried, and she let me get some from her. But come here a little closer, Noah, so maybe folks can hear it. See and hear how papery these are? When they're on the shrub and they begin to get this papery kind of texture of the blooms, that's when you can cut them, and they'll dry like this, and they'll stay in this dried state for a long, long time. Like some of these are 2 years old, and you can put them in your Christmas decorations. You can decorate your house with them. This is usually in my dining room on top of my china cabinet. But yeah, they're just really pretty. Something from your own garden that you can use in your house as decoration and keep you yearning for the gardening season. So y'all go out and get you some Little Lime hydrangeas this year.